Welcome to the Rocky Top Rewind here on a Sunday evening. Volquest.com, the Volquest YouTube channel. I'm Eric Kane alongside Brent Hubbs. Appreciate you guys for being here as we react, we reflect, we look back on Tennessee's homecoming salute to service victory over New Mexico State 42-9. Of course, there's a lot to kind of go into in that game. We'll discuss not Tennessee's best effort, but again, a game that was never in jeopardy, a game that was never in doubt. Tennessee does handle the Aggies 42-9, but what's this mean for the week coming up in the Florida Gators? That's what anybody wants to talk about. Obviously, some big news of the day. Boo Carter dismissed from the Tennessee football team. There's some injuries from this football game. We're going to get Brent Hubbs to chime in on that. We've got a guest coming up from Gators Online and Keith Neighbor coming up at 9:30, so looking forward to that. And, of course, this show is presented by our great friends over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. TN Trial Lawyer. That phone number for free consultations on the screen, 423-245-4185. Again, a big thanks to Spivey King and Spivey LLP. All right, Brent Hubbs, let's talk about the news of the day, and there's not a whole lot to say on it. We'll touch on it. We'll answer any questions, but Boo Carter no longer with the Tennessee football team, and it felt like this has been building for a while. It's been a long time coming.
Well, you felt like after Josh Heupel's answer to the question Saturday night after the game that it was done. It was just a matter of, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, talking to everybody and making sure everybody was aware. I think that's something that's important to Josh Heupel. I don't think he wanted to air it publicly before having a private conversation with Boo. But yeah, it certainly felt that way. When Boo was not on the sidelines on Saturday in any fashion, I think that was kind of what you needed to know and where it was going. I said this on the 2-minute drill after the game. To sum up Boo Carter, it's November the 15th, now the 16th, and you were talking about Boo Carter just like you were in July, and nothing had really changed. It was a little bit better here, done some things well, done some things better, and then didn't do some things, And I just think that it was just at the point that there was no. I mean, he wasn't playing on defense. He wasn't going to be a factor on defense. There was no point in continuing on. He was leaving. Everybody knew he was going to leave, and it was time to move on. And I'll applaud Josh Heupel and the coaching staff. They certainly gave Boo every opportunity. Boo's a talent. He can play. Anybody that sit here and act like he's not talented and can't play, and not that anybody's doing that, but if they do, then that's incorrect.
No.
So that's just the way it is. I mean, the bottom line is last December you bet on Boo because you felt like he was going to make a jump from year one to year two. Would there be some challenges in management? Yeah, that was part of it. I mean, I get all that, but it's not like you haven't had to do that with players since the history of mankind in college athletics, right? And it didn't work. And you think about it, I mean, they really sort of built their defense, I would imagine, or thought in December they were going to build most of their defense around Jermod McCoy, Ricky Gibson, and Boo Carter. And so, yeah, safety play was going to be important, but that wasn't the biggest priority because you felt good about where you were at the other three positions. No. And then you have the January injury to Jermod McCoy. You have the injury 19 snaps into the season on Ricky Gibson. And then you had the whole Boo Carter stuff. And so the three best playmakers you thought you had on defense, you just essentially have never played with them really. I mean, I don't know that Boo Carter and Ricky Gibson played a snap together this year. Mm-hmm. And obviously Jermod McCoy's not been on the team. So it really changes the way. It's not an excuse for anything defensively, but it really changed the landscape of what you were going to do in the back end of the defense.
I mean, it's certainly not funny, but it's kind of remarkable that you kind of, and again, we all know those guys haven't played this year, but when I remember all offseason talking about the defense, and I thought, silly me, I thought the secondary was going to be the strong point because of those three guys you just mentioned. And, even with Jamal McCoy's injury, anticipated him to be back, sooner than now. Obviously, that's just not been the case, but nobody saw Ricky Gibson getting hurt. Football's a contact sport. It is what it is. 19 plays into the season, and of course the Boo Carter situation. And I thought this defense had great upside. And I thought this secondary had real good upside, and it just never materialized. And so, Boo Carter, it's unfortunate. You've been around, covering this program in college football for so long, and you've seen different situations like this. So talented, Former 4-star prospect here from East Tennessee, playmaking ability with the football in his hands. So we'll see what's next for him, but it's unfortunate because, he could have been a really, really good player here at Tennessee. And this year, I mean, somebody was asking me on Saturday, like, hey, what's up with Boo Carter? I'm like, it's not even just registering for me anymore. Like, I'm not trying to be rude, but he's just not been a factor at all. So I will ask this, now that he's officially off the team, in your opinion, Jalen McMurray's obviously been playing star the entire year. If McMurray would need to be spelled, do you think in high leverage situations, do you think a Caleb Beasley would come down and play star if needed?
I think, yeah. Here's the other thing I wonder. Do you rep Colton Hood some there? He's played it in the past. Do you rep him there some and, play a William Wright at corner because he's got some experience?
Yeah.
I don't know that you don't have to look at that potentially. Now you only got 2 games left. But, if I don't think Jermon McCoy's coming back this week and playing 75 snaps for you. But,
Yeah.
If he were to play in the last 2 weeks of the season by chance, and again, I don't have any reason to believe that he's going to, other than he's trying to, could there be a situation where, you slide Colton Hood in for that? I don't know. I mean, I think Beasley and then Colton Hood would probably be the 2 places I would look at the star position. But, I mean, if McMurray can go, he's going to play every snap. Just like he has the last 2 weeks, basically.
Yeah.
I guess you could go 3 linebackers and take a nickel off the field, but boy, it's hard to play defense to do that in this day and age.
Yeah, you don't want to live in that. You can do it, especially if they go with 2 tight end sets. That's what Tennessee's been doing a lot the last couple of years. When the Kentuckys or the Floridas or whoever goes 12 personnel, Tennessee will match that with a 4-3 look. So you can do that. You certainly don't want to live in that. And yeah, I think Colton Hood, when all was healthy when they got him, and they're like, okay, we knew this guy could play, but this guy can play right now. I think the thought was if everybody was healthy, he could play a little bit of star at points and times and kind of help you out there. So it will be interesting to see the last 2 weeks kind of what they want to do there if the need arises. Another big storyline for me coming out of the football game last night was a couple of these injuries, right? On one drive late in the third quarter, and the score was 28-3, and it's frustrating for me because, again, this is a game that you were never going to lose. But, having said all that, number one, football is a contact sport. It is what it is. But, your offense played like crap in the second quarter. So you knew those guys were going to come out and play a ton in the third quarter, as they should. But on one drive late in the third quarter, leading 28-3, second play of the drive, Wendell Moy goes down. Deshaun Bishop goes down a couple of plays later, and he's fine. And then Miles Kitselman there at the end before the touchdown goes down. Brent, you were down there on the sideline. Of course, there's been a lot of time that's passed since then. Let's start with Wendell Moy and then go to Miles Kitselman. What do you know here on a Sunday? And obviously this is developing as the week goes on.
Yeah, nothing definitive on Wendell Moy. And here's the thing that you know about injuries. There are times you can somebody's really injured. There are other times where you say, oh, that guy's good to go. And then there are times where a guy looks like he's good to go and maybe there's more to it. I think that's the concern with Wendell Moy that I have, is he looked fine. He walked under his own power, went into the locker room, for further testing. Before he went into the locker room, he was standing around his teammates, seemed to be okay. But you just wonder, because he did go into the locker room. I would have never guessed Ricky Gibson was going to be out for the year when I watched him on the sideline and talked to the doctors and the trainers. Would have never guessed that was the injury. So I don't know anything on Wendell Moy, but I don't think it's just – I think it would be wrong to say, he's good to go. I think it's also wrong to say, he's going to be out on a long period of time, because I don't know what the injury is. It didn't feel like it was a serious deal when he came out of the injury tent. But he was in there for a good bit of time, and then he went into the locker room to have further examination. Obviously, going to have an MRI and all those things as well. Kitselman, clearly there's an injury there. I mean, he could not walk in under his own power. He had to have some help going into the locker room. On his way to the locker room, he stopped, and one of the offensive analysts that they work with closely, they had a hug, and he said a prayer with Miles, and you could see the emotion on Miles's face. So there's certainly something more significant, I think, with Miles Kitselman for sure, based on just his reaction. We'll see what Josh Heupel has to say about Kitselman, and we'll see what he has to say about Wendell. Remember, this is an SEC week, So this is where the Wednesday injury report, end of the week injury report definitely comes into play. So there's good and bad in that. One, Josh Heupel may not say anything about the injuries on Monday. Two, he can't not say anything about them when they put out the injury report. Just like, we thought they might hold some guys. Some guys might be on some snap counts on Saturday. Then you get to the game, and all of a sudden, you got Jordan Ross not dressed, and you got Joseph's not dressed, and you got Christian Gass not dressed, and a lot of guys were getting, rest, that you weren't just sure about. You knew Arian Carter wasn't going to play. So there'll be more definitive news on injuries Wednesday through Saturday with the injury report. I don't know how much definitive injury news we'll get tomorrow, but certainly there's concern with those two guys.
Yeah, no doubt. And kind of going back to Wendell Moy, obviously hope the best for him. He's been such a great addition to this program and really kind of been a stalwart on that offensive line. I mean, they, with the, Jesse Perry and David Sanders missing, having to bump Perry out, having to bring Sham in. They flip-flopped him from left guard to right guard, and he's played both those guard spots with Sanders back in at points in times during the football game over the last couple of weeks, and he's been really good. And you go to Florida and say Moy's not out there, you have to look at a plan B or something. I mean, if in my opinion, it was not an emergency situation the other night, but Jesse Perry clearly came in, and he was fine, and he'll be ready to go. And that's fine, but I guess this is kind of where you're like, oh, well, it's good that Sham Umarov is basically a sixth starter for you and started half the year. But in my opinion, man, you're probably losing your best offensive lineman right now. I mean, Lance Hurd's obviously good as well, but that's not a great loss if he were to miss next week. That's not, you don't want to miss anybody, but that's certainly one up front that you don't want to miss.
Well, I think the thing that he does is he's a great calming influence up there because he's got so much experience and he can communicate with everybody. And I think some of those communication issues have not been there when he's on the field. I think the concern, if he's not able to play, is just the communication between Jesse Perry and David Sanders. Those guys have given up some plays and some pressures. Just communicating out beside each other and talking to each other. This is a Florida team that will run a good bit of games up front. They'll stunt, twist, and do some different stuff. You got to pass it off. You got to slide your protection, some things like that. So that would be a concern that you have coming into this game. It's just a communication standpoint that Wendell could bring. And then obviously the physical nature that he plays with. He's a good football player, and he has been a good addition for Tennessee on the offensive line. I do think there's a chance he's back next year for Tennessee, which would be a nice lift for that offensive line to continue to build. Basically, you could bring potentially four of your starters back next year, which would be a really nice lift. And if Sham's back, you basically are bringing five starters back. You're making a move at left tackle because of Lance Hurd. But, I think Wendell Moy has been a really good transfer pickup for Tennessee.
Yep, he has, absolutely. All right, Friends for Gator Online is going to join us here in about 15 minutes or so. Let's run through some questions. And,
okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about some games, here and there throughout the hour, but just not much of a game. Let's go to JB Collins, 5781. Please comment on Jaden Perlotti's hit on 5 the quarterback. I'll tell you what, man. If it's the hit that I'm thinking of, he just came downhill and just hit stick. I mean, it was beautiful. Jaden Perlotti goes a million miles an hour. He brings in energy. He's got size, and more than the size, and more than the physicality, he's got the speed. He is so quick. I've been so impressed with Jaden Perlotti. He's got a long way to go in terms of figuring out where he needs to be and being a consistent player in that regard, but he has brought some energy and some juice, as they say, to this Tennessee defense. He's been fun to watch, and that hit last night was really, really cool.
He gets somewhere in a hurry, and he gets there with some anger about him. He likes to punish people, and a really good downhill. I think he plays the alley well. He does a good job running the alley. Certainly can fill hole in the run game. In space, he's got to continue to grow there. But man, when you get into see ball, hit ball, man, he can go. And I like his instincts. I think he's got some natural instincts, particularly in the run game. So he's a guy who's really benefited from the injury to Arian Carter because it's allowed him to play more snaps, and he has earned those snaps. He's developed some trust with William Inge, kind of passing Jaden Harmon in that regard. Harmon was sort of the early guy, but Perlotti just seems to be around the football a lot, and good things seem to happen when he's around the football. He's got a bright future for sure.
Yes, he does. He absolutely does have a bright future, and I'm excited to see him continue to play the way he is over the next couple of weeks. How many missed tackles from last night? Unless they've changed it, Brent, 5 missed tackles, and that's the second game in a row with 5 missed tackles, and that's a season low. And Tennessee continues its last couple times out to be a better tackling football team.
Well, playing in space better, tackling in space better. I still think they gave up a little too much yards after catch on some of the receiver screen stuff. They gave up some yards on the slant in the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter stats I don't really take a hard look at. They gave up 209 yards, I think, in the first 3 quarters. But New Mexico State did not have a 3 and out in the first half. So there's some things they can do better for sure. But whatever this new point of emphasis they made on tackling leading into the Oklahoma game has paid off for Tennessee the last 2 weeks, because they've got 10 total missed tackles the last 2 weeks, and that's fewer than any. Those 2 games combined are fewer than any other single game that they've had this season. So that tells you all you need to know. I mean, they had not had a below double-digit missed tackle game until Oklahoma, and they put back-to-back ones together.
Austin A., do you think the length of time it took to boot Boo Carter off the team is an indictment of Josh Heupel?
I don't. And here's my rationale. One, every situation is different. 2, we don't know everything Boo was doing. Was Boo doing things the right way? Was he doing things better? And then he just kind of slid backwards here at the end. I don't know that. Coaches don't want to give up on kids, particularly talented kids. And there have been a lot of cases where I would have said, man, you should give up on that guy. And the guy went on and did some really good things and matured and grew up and all of those types of things. That's what you were hoping to get out of Boo Carter, and you didn't get that. So I don't think it's an indictment necessarily. Could you have done it a month earlier? Yeah, maybe. Should you have done it in July? Sure. But if you'd have done it in the outrage from fans, if you'd have done it early in the year or in the preseason, would have been crazy, right? I mean, how many threads would there have been on the GQ about, this defense is struggling? Well, I mean, they get what they deserve. They threw their best player off the team in Boo Carter because, this, that, and the other. Because he wasn't playing and he had gone the year without being a factor, I think for a lot of fans, they just kind of moved on from Boo several weeks ago anyway, much the way you talked about it off the top of the show. So I don't know that it's an indictment. Was it the best decision? Did they manage that whole situation the right way? No, I can't say that. But I don't look at that situation and go, man, Josh Heupel's a bad football coach because he did that or he didn't do that in this situation. I will say this, and maybe this is what Austin's alluding to. I think one of the interesting things is it is hard when you are dealing with a guy who has lost the respect of his teammates. You can get in trouble with the law, right? You can do things off the field that are bad things, bad decisions, and your teammates will forgive you. But when you violate the code of a teammate, which is what he did in July, when he bailed on his teammates for whatever period of time, for whatever reason in July, it changes how everybody views that. And when those things happen, I think the coach has to look at it from the standpoint of, one, can we save him? Can we help him? He can help us if we can get something out of him. If we get something out of him, does it make us a better team? Sure it does. And you have to make that decision there. It is a hard decision for coaches to run kids off and throw them off teams. It's not easy because they recruited them because they believe they can help them. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing Boo Carter did last year on the field that didn't say, hey, he can help this team. That's why you were banking on so much around him in the offseason, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, I think what you said there, don't forget these coaches found these players, recruited these players, built relationships with these players, and brought them to campus and were developing these players. I mean, you don't want to give up on anybody, but, I mean, again, there's more than just, what may seem like an easy decision. And plus, you want to give these kids as many chances as they can to turn things around in the realm of,
right.
Not going overboard.
Right. And I don't think Tennessee lost the Georgia game because of locker room issues with Boo Carter. I don't think they lost the game against Alabama because of that. I don't think they lost the Oklahoma game because of that. But I think you have to protect your culture and your chemistry in your locker room and make sure that's not an issue. And I think Ben's got a post down here in a comment, and I think Ben's right. I mean, I think players were over Boo, but I don't think that players were not playing hard or they were doing this, that, or the other because of Boo. I think they were just tired of dealing with it and fooling with it. I can't say it was a distraction for the team, but I also can't say that, it was the best decision to let him linger on the program as long as you did.
The whole thing was just weird and awkward and uncomfortable. Like, I remember, I think it was the UAB game when he had a couple of those nice returns and played some good defense, punched the football loose, and it was Caleb Beasley's scoop and score. They were giving away game balls in the locker room, and UT put out a video of that, and they gave a game ball to Boo, and it was like he was, I don't know, the body language is kind of weird. It's not like his teammates weren't clapping for him because they were, but it was just kind of like, I don't know. I thought about that, and I was like, man, that just kind of looks awkward. So,
there was a total disconnect. And again, I think that disconnect comes when you violate the code.
Yep.
When you violate the teammate code. You're out there landing on the line for each other throughout the entire summer. In some ways, July is a harder month than August, even though you put on pads. I mean, you're doing it on more consecutive days in July than you do in August. And when you don't show up for your teammates and you don't put in the work with your teammates, there's a violation of trust. There's a violation of the teammate code or the creed or whatever. And that's never forgotten.
Yeah.
I mean, now, if he'd have done that and he would have come back and he'd have had a punt return against Georgia and he would have put in the work that he needed to and not had the communication issues on defense, giving up play after play and conversions and the things that he didn't do. There was a lot of people talking about how great – there were a lot of people on this show on Sunday night talking about how great he played. He needs more snaps. And we're like, there was good Boo and there was bad Boo. And the bad was bad and there was some good. And everybody's like, oh, you guys aren't giving him – I mean, he played great. And it's like, no, he really didn't. But had he played great, it would have certainly changed the locker room, probably narrative to a degree. I mean, There's a lot of guys put up with some knuckleheads if the guy's really helping you win football games. The problem is Boo just didn't help you do anything.
Yeah, you never want to set that example oh, well, he's good, so he doesn't he can get by with all this stuff. But there are, like it or not, over the years, at every level, not just college, at every level, it's like, oh, that guy's an All-American. That guy goes out and he's leading the SEC in rushing or whatever it is. It's like, okay, come on, try to do what you need to do, but okay, that guy's going to take care of him. Boo was not on that level is what we're saying. But again, best of luck to him, and we'll see what's next in his journey. One more from Austin real quick. Shot in the dark, 1 to 10 scale, Ricky Gibson suiting up again this season. I would say that's a 0, right? Nothing's changed there?
Yeah, he just got out of the sling a week ago, 10 days ago, just really starting the rehab process. So I don't think he's going to be a factor at all this season. I know he's not going to be a factor at all this season.
How well do you think Tennessee will do in the run game on both sides of the ball against Florida? History says the team with the most rushing yards typically wins. This one's interesting, Brent, because
it is.
It's really interesting because Tennessee under Heupel hasn't run it very well, especially down there. I remember last year Florida gave up 300 yards on the ground to Mississippi. I kid you not, it was 270 or something. And then what did they just do against Ole Miss? Ole Miss is good. Lacey's great. Gave up 247 in that game. So, I remember going to that game last year, Tennessee's going to run all over Florida, or 2 years ago, whatever it was. So, I would kind of go in there with an air of caution in that regard. Tennessee's also just not run the ball as good as it can the last couple weeks. It's kind of been weird in that regard. Florida defending the run is towards the back of the league. I think Tennessee's stats a little bit better. They're giving up 143 yards on the ground. So, we'll see what happens. Jaden Ball, good tailback, but certainly Florida ranks towards the bottom of the league in terms of rushing offense as well. I think Tennessee has the potential to be certainly outrush Florida, but again, they got to be patient with it. You got to give – I know Deshaun Bishop got 16 carries the other day. You got to give the ball to 18. He's clearly your best back. It's not even close. It is not even close. Be patient with it and don't be as pass happy.
Well, here's my thing with that. I just don't think you have to rotate the third series of the game. I understand that's scripted. Okay, but if the guy's hot, and I thought Bishop was hot out of the gate Saturday night. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed it, but I felt like he was seeing it pretty well and was starting to get into a pretty good rhythm. And that second series he played, he got the one carry because it was a 4-play drive for a touchdown. To me, that's not enough of a series to let a guy get in a rhythm. I don't like this absolute every 2 series we're going to rotate somebody in the first half, because there's just not that many possessions in the game. I think if a guy's playing well, you just keep riding that horse. So we'll see what they do with that. Florida has given up the last 2 weeks. Florida's run defense has been awful. That's just not been very good. Kentucky ran for 233 yards. I think it was. Ole Miss for 240 or whatever Lacey finished with. But can Tennessee go down there and run it? Can they do it? Will they be committed to do it? Will they be patient enough to do it? Are they going to wind up throwing it 45 times down there? I think you've got to get and try to avoid some third and long situations. I think Florida's pass rush can cause you some problems. I think you need balance in this game. We'll see. I'm with you. I've seen a lot of times where it looked like Tennessee should run the ball really well against this team, and they haven't been able to do it. So I know in 01 they did it. Okay. And in 03, I think they ran it like 50 times for like 128 yards or something like that. But they were just like, we're going to run it and keep beating our head against the wall, running the football that way. This is different. So we'll see. We'll see how effective they can run the football. But they better find some production on the ground.
No doubt, you do not want to be one-dimensional, and certainly you want to be able to lean on that run game on the road, which is going to be a really, really big, hostile environment down there in the Swamp. We'll get the scout of the Gators from Gators Online when we return right here on the Rocky Top Rewind. Our Rewind is presented by our great friends over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers. They specialize in criminal defense, family law, and personal injury. If you got a problem, they can find that solution for you. Examples of which could be DUI, assaults, divorce, custody, alimony, parental rights, car wrecks, accidents. Over 80 years of combined experience, Spivey King and Spivey LLP provides representation throughout state and federal courts of Northeast Tennessee. The firm has a vast amount of trial experience. This practice has been in place for 43 years with this specific partnership of Matthew A. Spivey, J. Matt King, and Richard A. Spivey since 2012. They also have partners who are energized for today's modern legal demands. They practice primarily in the Tri-Cities of Sullivan County, as well as Hawkins County, Washington County, and surrounding areas. The firm has won multiple awards and have attorneys who have been rated by super lawyers in the Mid-South with real trial experience. Whether you've been injured in a car accident, need help with a divorce, help with custody of your children, or you've been accused of a crime, Spivey King and Spivey LLP, they can help you. For a free consultation, dial this phone number, 423-245-4185. One more time, free consultation. That is 423-245-4185. Or check them out online at SpiveyKingandSpiveyLLP.com. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers. The Rocky Top Rewind is also presented by the great people over at Game Time. Game Time is an app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's a hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can trust that you're going to get 100% authentic tickets on time at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so no surprises at checkout, no prices jumping at checkout. Game Time includes all that up front. We use the Game Time app to go to Smokies games in the summer. We buy tickets on the Game Time app here in town, the new Smoky Stadium at Covenant Health Ballpark downtown. And sometimes I like to, they do these zone deals where I pick the section, Game Time picks our seats, and I save a whole lot of money. And so that's one of my favorite things on the app that we enjoy doing when going to Smokies games. But they've got priority fees included, zone deals. They've got, you can see your seat, an actual picture of your seat and what the action is going to look like before you hit purchase, all that and more. And they got the best customer service policy in the ticketing industry that's going to have coverage on your purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create that account, put in the redeem code ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today.
Welcome back in the Rocky Top Rewind. Brent Hubbs, Eric Kane, glad to have you along with us on this Sunday night. Want to welcome to the program now from Gators Online, Keith Niebler is joining us. Keith, Hope your golf game as well. I'm sure you're getting a whole lot of time to think about that right now, right?
I think my golf game's better than the Florida offense right now, to be honest with you. They got to get things.
Now here you go with all of that, Keith. I mean, I do want to ask you.
Sure.
We all watched the Kentucky game, and it looked like a done team. They looked like they were completely done.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did Billy Gonzalez do to get them in a situation where they got the lead in the fourth quarter, heading into the fourth quarter in Oxford, Mississippi?
I don't know specifically what the staff did, but for some reason they played with the energy, the emotion, and the effort that they didn't have against Kentucky. So many years ago, when Florida would lose to Georgia and Jacksonville, they would let that game beat them twice. And I'm talking about the 1970s when they had these great teams and they would fall apart, choke against Georgia. It cost them the SEC championship. Then they'd go to Kentucky the next week and they would just collapse. So one loss becomes two, which obviously is the old adage that coaches always tell you, you can't let one become two. So I don't know what happened. They never played particularly well in the cold. It was cold, a little chilly in Kentucky that night. They just aren't great to begin with. They had that first game of the Billy Gonzalez interim coach era against Georgia and really left everything on the field in Georgia, literally, apparently. So they went to Kentucky and absolutely stunk up the joint. But how did they get it back? Brett, I don't know. I mean, I guess you got to credit the staff for keeping them focused because you guys know the SEC, these games this year are so close, right? So it's coming down to how much focus you are, how much focus you have. A play or two here or there. Now, they haven't been able to win those games, but they've been in so many of them. So maybe the Kentucky game was just an aberration. But, Billy Gonzalez said after that game, I know I'm kind of dancing around your question here, Brent, but he said after the game, he said, look, I went and watched the film because I wanted to know if they had quit. And he says they didn't quit against Kentucky. But the issue is if he thought that he needed to go look at the film, then it was telling him that he needed to go look at the film. But they bounced back, and the effort was there yesterday. I don't know how you can explain it other than the fact that these guys may wanted to show off to the guy that might be their coach next year. I don't know. It kind of came out of nowhere. Remember, I don't know if you all got to watch the game. It was 10-0 Ole Miss early, and it didn't look good. And Florida put together this kind of a weird drive where DJ Lagway ran up the gut a couple of times, and it kind of sparked them. They score. They immediately get a turnover on Ole Miss's first play, return to the 5-yard line, and interception. And then next thing you know, they're up 14-10. So I don't know. I never answered your question, but I just don't know the answer to it, Brent. It just kind of came surprisingly after what we saw the week before. And I expect they're going to have some of the similar energy this week against Tennessee at home. But, I mean, they're still not winning games. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Keith, I appreciate you joining the show, man. Welcome to the Rocky Top Rewind. I do want to ask you, obviously, that you mentioned that Kentucky game. I mean, it was a blowout in the second half, and Lagway was benched, brought in the backup quarterback, and Trammell Jones Jr. Now, was that just a blowout? Let's get the young guy reps. Is there something there? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's now played in 2 games, so a red shirt's off the table. Maybe that's a shorter leash for DJ Lagway. Where's Florida at quarterback right now?
Well, here's the problem. Their QB room, your starter is struggling. Your number 2 guy, Trammell Jones, is a true freshman, and I don't know that he's ready to step into that large role. I mean, he went out there in a tough situation against Kentucky in the second half, and he did okay. But I think his future is where we're going to see what he's all about. I don't think he's there yet. So I think DJ Lagway is still the guy. And, again, against Ole Miss, he missed some open guys. He threw the key pick in the fourth quarter, but he also did some good things. He had a touchdown pass, some key runs. He's running better than he ever has. I mean, if they had a better option, sure. And that's not a knock on Trammell Jones. By the way, the staff thinks he's going to be really good down the road, but he's just not there yet, right? He's not there yet. So I don't think DJ Lagway's got too much to worry about. Look, there's 2 more games. They've got to figure out. He started to get a little bit of his confidence back last night. Whoever's Florida's next coach, this is going to be a major, provided DJ Lagway's still there, this is going to be a major reclamation project. I don't think they're going to give up on him. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be up to the prerogative of the new coach, and did him and DJ click? Do they want to stay together? We don't know that yet, but he's still, even in his bad games, still has these few plays that you're like, okay, man, there it is, right? But you could say that about a lot of quarterbacks, and I always think of Chris Ricks at Florida State. he would have these games of 300 yards. You'd say, why can't he do that every game? And the reason was because he wasn't that great. He was this. There's a reason why guys do this, and then some guys do this, right? And but DJ Lagway, if he can run the ball, that just takes a lot of pressure off him and the offensive line in the pass game. They were right there. They scored 24 points last night, but the problem was, guys, it was all in the first half. And here's a stat for you. So they've played 10 games, 9 against not Power 4, 9 against I always get this wrong, FBS teams, all right? Yeah. First game was against Long Island, the rest against FBS. In those 9 games, they have 20 fourth quarter points total. Georgia had 21 in the fourth quarter yesterday against Texas. Florida's got 20 all year. So they're falling apart in the second half. Is it the play calling? Is it the execution? Is it a little bit of both? I don't know the answer to that. And they obviously don't know the answer to that. They're hanging around, but again, you have Tennessee's in a tight game. I mean, they got to figure that they're going to make the plays and Florida isn't. I mean, that's been the season now. You know what I mean? I guess you're always a little leery when you go to Gainesville if you're Tennessee, but still, I mean, it's for whatever reason they're not making these plays. Guys, they're 3-7. There's a reason for that.
Well, they're 3-7, but they have moved the ball against some people, and they're talented in the defensive front for sure. Although they've given up some bunch of rushing yards in the last 2 games, to me that they're hard to get, and as you said, they're hard to get a handle on. Have they changed anything significantly offensively with Billy Gonzalez? Is it kind of the same stuff? Are they doing anything different defensively that you've noticed the last couple of weeks?
All right, so offensively, I mean, look, it's the same offense. Just so people I don't want to sound condescending, but you guys know this. You can't change your offensive system midstream in the middle of the season. That's like an off-season thing. So the offense is the same. The plays are a little different. I'll give you a couple examples. One, we didn't see Lagway running much this year. Now, they were scared. He was hurt. He was coming off multiple injuries, but they are running him more. So that's been one change. And also last night on it was a key short yardage play. I don't remember whether it was 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, but they put Lagway under center, which they never do. And he took the ball and got the first down. So those are a couple changes. They really wanted to open it up. This was the plan. After Billy Napier was fired, I think it was October 19th, Billy Gonzalez, the interim coach, said, who's the receivers coach, what he wants to do, right? He wants to throw the ball, get the ball to his receivers. But he said they're going to be a little bit more aggressive, attack, get downfield. But, for them to do that, 1, they have to establish the run. 2, they have to establish the run with DJ Lagway, because if Lagway is not running, the safeties don't really have to worry about him. The linebackers don't really have to worry about him. But if he is running at all, then all of a sudden they got to either account for it eye-wise or body-wise coming back down into the box area. And then you get the shots deep. Well, Florida had the shots last year. Lagway got some runs. They got the deep shots. He averaged 10 yards an attempt last year. Well, this year, he's averaging under 7 yards, I believe, under 7 yards an attempt. That is a huge difference. So they're trying to get some of that back, and you saw it in the first half against Ole Miss, and I don't know why they went away from it. They only had 103 yards in the second half after a very solid first half, 103 yards second half, 38 on one play, a tight end screen. You take that away, they only averaged 2.7 yards a play for the whole second half. So, Brent, they're doing a lot in the first half. I mean, they played well in the first half against Georgia. They played well in the first half against, I'm trying to think who else, Texas A&M. I mean, that was a 7-point game going into the fourth quarter. All the games, that's the irony. Kentucky's one of the worst teams they played. That game was over at halftime. But all the other games they played, Miami, they were down 6 with the ball twice in Miami territory in the fourth quarter to take the lead. USF, they gave up a late touchdown to lose that game. Texas A&M down 7 going into the fourth quarter. LSU down 10, but LSU's offense had done nothing, so they were in that. So, but again, to answer your question, kind of little things on offense, it really looks otherwise sort of the same. On defense, it doesn't look like anything's really changed. I mean, they're just kind of doing what they're doing. They're trying to keep everything in front of it. They've had a lot of injuries. I know a lot of teams have, and I need to mention the receivers, Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown. A lot of their better receiver talents haven't been playing lately. But on defense, they've had a lot of injuries too. Caleb Banks, projected first or second round pick on the defensive line. I think he's played in 1 game this year. He could be back this week, but is he going to be the Caleb Banks we saw the end of last year when he was dominating? They're trying to keep everything in front of them. I don't think they've changed too much on defense, but if you watch the game last night, you heard the announcers say repeatedly, another breakdown in the Florida secondary, another breakdown. That's been the issue. And then, of course, as they were getting gashed in the passing game. And I don't know what came first. Ole Miss was able to run the ball. And Tennessee's got some balance too. So, that's a big concern for Florida this week.
Napier was let go after the Mississippi State game, right?
Correct.
Okay. So not only has Florida not played a home game in about a month, Florida has not played a home game without Billy.
Yeah.
And again, played really inspired in Oxford yesterday. Yeah. What's your anticipation for what this crowd is going to be like Saturday night against Tennessee, a team that Florida typically, historically, especially down there, wins this game? Yeah. But a lot of changes, a lot of up and down play. How do you think the environment and the crowd is going to be in this type of game?
Well, kind of like what you would expect if the roles were reversed. I mean, it's a good fan base, and just like Tennessee's is, they're going to be there. It's going to be probably mostly filled. It's a night game. Tennessee's going to have some people there. Now, they're going to be energetic. I mean, the funny thing is, and we say this, we use this analogy all the time, that the day you stop smoking, they say your lungs start to repair themselves, right? So the day Billy Napier was fired, the fan base collectively started coming together. Now, if they don't get Lane Kiffin, we're going to see it drifting apart again, okay? But, even if they don't get Lane Kiffin, you guys, Brent, you've seen this enough. Whoever the next coach is, if it's Kiffin, great for Florida. If not, they're going to make it sound like the next guy's Vince Lombardi anyway. So, but
whoever it is the first choice.
Absolutely.
The only guy they offered the job to.
Well, the funny thing is, I went back to 1960. I'm going off topic, so forgive me. I'm a mile a minute. Florida has gotten its first, second, or third guy, and it wasn't, and I wasn't using here's who they offered. It was, hey, here's what we knew to be the truth. So, like Ron Zook, he may have been the first guy they truly offered, but he wasn't their first choice. So we knew that. But Steve Spurrier was, Urban Meyer was, Doug Dickey was. Right, the former Tennessee coach. Yep. Ray Graves was not before him. They had Ara Parseghian lined up to be the head coach. Charlie Pell was not. They had Lou Holtz lined up. But Billy Napier was the first choice. Now, maybe the bar was set a little low on that first choice. It's kind of like asking a 5 to the homecoming dance, so you get the yes instead of 14 rejections of the 8. You know what I mean? Not that I've had that experience, but no, I think the crowd's going to be. They've been good. I'm telling you, the Mississippi State game was packed. They've been surprisingly pretty good. On the message boards, people are always like, I'm done. I'm never going to the end. And they show up, and I think everybody's sort of just eager. They're ready for that. There's a level of excitement right now. So once you get past the guy you don't want there, you then start cheering on the boys again, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're always cheering them, but there's boos, there's fire Billy chants. And if you're a player, you're like, God, are they booing us? I mean, what's going on here? But once they fired Billy, the fans have sort of come together, and I think they're going to support the guys. But now the players have to go out and do something too, because they haven't, quite frankly.
All right, Keith, we're going to let you go because Lane Kiffin has tweeted again, I think. But we do have one question. Are you got Lane Kiffin as the clubhouse leader? I know it's the wish. What do you make? What does everybody make of all of his post game comments and all of that stuff? What do you make of all that?
Well, I say, here's what I say: the people we talk to, and I'm going to roundabout answers as usual, Brent, but the people we talk to that are the influential people, they believe that Florida's in a strong spot, and they are cautiously optimistic. I won't go beyond that, right? You know what I mean? Like, cautiously optimistic. There's unknown variables. That's why you don't paint yourself into a corner. Like, it's done. It's happening. But they feel like the people we talk to, and me too, that, he could have easily nipped this in the bud, right? If he wanted to stay. Now, that doesn't guarantee that he's leaving.
Listen, Tony just left Tennessee, Tony Vitello, so we're familiar with this tactic.
He could, that's right, great coach. But he could have just said today or last night or any time in the last few months, I'm staying. Now, that doesn't mean definitely that he's leaving, but it makes you wonder, why hasn't he done that? Now, his agent may be saying, oh, no, you can't do that. You got to maximize you're hot right now. I don't know what they're telling him, but he could have easily done that. But there is a level of optimism in Gainesville. And I think that's part of the reason why. Why hasn't he come out and said this? And we know there's a level of concern in Oxford too. But, again, this is his decision. Where does he want to live? Which program does he want to work for? There's a lot of things that we don't know, that nobody knows except for him and his family and, maybe Jimmy Sexton.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, man, I know you got to get with it. We appreciate your time. Thanks as always. Hopefully you get to hit them straight when all this settles down at some point in time.
I'm still out there practicing everything. That's my daily exercise, Brent. Okay, don't worry about that.
I like it. Hey, man, it's good. good to see you.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much,
you.
guys. Yeah, appreciate
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Keith Niebler from Gators Online joins us on 3. If you're interested in their coaching search, you can certainly follow those guys and all the work that they do there. They'll also have a ton of stuff getting you ready for Tennessee and Florida. I do think it's interesting, Eric. When you look at it, it's easy to look at Kentucky and say they're done, but you look at all the other games, and they have been in games, and they were certainly in that game against Ole Miss. Now, they're out of a bowl possibility. Do they stay as engaged this week? That's $1 million question. They're going to go to that ball field going, we always beat Tennessee. Mm-hmm. They're going to go with some confidence.
Yeah, as they should. And I do think that kind of like Kentucky in that football game in the Bluegrass, if Tennessee were to get up by a score or two, maybe that changes. Now, that's going to be easier said than done, right? To get a 2-score first half lead. We'll see what happens in the road on the Swamp. But if that were to happen, maybe that changes things. But no, they're going to be ready to go as they always are. And clearly, there's always been talent on that roster. That's what I'm saying. Throw the 3 and 7 out the window. This is one of the most talented rosters in the SEC. I mean, the problem was in-game coaching. I mean, he recruited well. He just couldn't make the right decision in the game. So we'll see what happens on Saturday when Tennessee comes to town. Again, you've heard it a million times. You're going to hear it another million times before kickoff. Tennessee's not won down there since 2003. Can that change this week? We will find out. Let's hit some questions here as we got about 13 minutes left of the show. Joshua wants to know, any truth to the Heupel being in talks with LSU?
I mean, I don't think so at this point. I mean, again, Keith just said it best. You never say never on anything with where it's at. But, I mean, I don't believe Josh Heupel is on is up their radar screen. I don't think that I think that they want to get back, and I think I could see them with some defensive influence there, in kind of their style and where they're at. But again, I don't know what that looks. I don't know where their pecking order is going to be. I mean, the hard part about LSU and their coaching search right now, and I'm not knocking anybody that's put a hot board out there, but where are you getting your information from a hot board from? Because who's making the decision? I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that. I mean, you have to put hot boards out, and you put some logical names out there, but like, who's involved in making this happen and all of those types of things? Could Josh Heupel's name continue to surface some? Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising to me if that were the case. We're in that world and we're in that climate, but I right now I don't see him being at the top of LSU's pecking order. I don't think. But again, but again, here's what I know, man. And doing this for 30 some odd years, the first time you say, nah, there's never there, you're going to get yourself in trouble. So anything in this day and age is certainly possible.
Yeah. Again, let me remind everybody, Tony Vitello is the manager of the San Francisco Giants. I mean, not that he doesn't deserve it, but holy crap, right? Like, first time he listed on one of those boards, I'm like, huh? What? Yeah. So, yes, nothing would surprise us in this day and age. Jeremiah, I would think Tennessee needs to go out and spend more money and get some playmakers in the secondary for next year. Also, it would be nice to have Jacoby Thomas back. He looks great down there in Miami. He absolutely does. Good for him. I'm glad he's balling out. He's having fun. I've watched parts of Miami this year, and it seems like every time I see Miami on TV, he's making a play. So that's really cool for him. I think it's easy to sit there and say, if you're a Tennessee fan, like, oh, what's going on? Yeah, he was just here. I mean, it's not like he was a game changer last year, to be completely honest with you. Right. He certainly maximized his abilities down there in Miami. But if I'm a Tennessee staff, and based on what that conversation was like, maybe he wanted more money. I don't know. But if that's the case, I mean, that was an easy okay, we'll go see if you can find it somewhere else, in my opinion now. But fact remains, I think they should have went out and got some help at safety. I think that is priority number one this offseason, along with the defensive lineman as always. But Tennessee's going to have to be more active in the transfer portal this go-around than they were last year, in my opinion. Also, think about some of those guys that, had some, transfer portal flirtation there in that December window last year. Nico, gone. Boo, gone. Roster retention's a real thing, but some of those guys are already off your roster.
Well, they are, but I mean, if you just said last year, imagine doing this show last December and you go, yeah, Tennessee let Boo Carter walk because he was asking for too much money, but they They doubled Jacoby Thomas's money to bring him back because they wanted. I mean, they would have fallen. I mean, everybody would have gone crazy.
Yep.
You know, you wanted all your money spent on Boo Carter because Boo Carter flashed enough that you said, man, this guy's going to be a legit player. You know, I mean, if you'd have let Boo Carter walk, you probably have Christian Harrison playing right now for you and playing safety where he's playing, or you could have kept Jacoby Thomas. But there wasn't anybody wanting Boo Carter to walk away last December based on the way he closed out his freshman campaign. So, you know, Jacoby Thomas has done a nice job there. There was nothing at the end of last year that you said, man, that guy's going to be really good. That guy's a guy we got to have in the roster. He was just kind of a guy. And I'm not trying to pick on him. He was just kind of a guy. Would you like to have him right now? You absolutely would like to have him right now. No question about that. Yeah. But at the time of his departure, I don't think there was a great upheaval of everybody going, man, we lost a great player today. You know, how in the world do you let that guy walk? You know what I'm saying? And those are the challenges in roster management. And those are the critical decisions in roster management. And you hope you get more of them right than you get wrong. Because if you get too many of them wrong, you got a bad roster. If you get enough of them right, you got a good roster. If you get a lot of them right, you got a roster that gives you a chance to win it.
Yeah. Again, and I'm not trying to be rude. I mean, the only play that I remember him making off the top of my head right now is the one that he ducked his head and had a targeting penalty on. So really good to see him balling out, though. Good for him. But your point is exactly right. I mean, all the money should have went to Boo Carter last year. At least that was the thought process, instead of a Christian Harrison who's doing a lot of good things in Cincinnati, and of course Jacoby Thomas.
Now, here's the thing with Jacoby. Here's the thing with a guy like Jacoby Thomas. What would he look like if he got a bunch of playing time last year? Because one of the things that's helped him at Miami is from day one, he's just played. Mm-hmm. He played a limited number of snaps last year. So you're sitting there and you're going, okay, I have him with a year of eligibility. You can pay a bunch of money to, or we can just move on to Edris Farouk. And if you evaluated the end of last year, there was nothing that said Jacoby Thomas was greatly superior to where Edris Farouk's potential was going to be, or where you thought you might be able to get him. Now, is that a fair statement? Probably not, because Thomas did not get a ton of opportunities last year because you played Will Brooks, rightfully so, and you played Turrentine, right? Mm-hmm. And you didn't rotate a whole bunch back there at the safety position to really understand sort of what you truly potentially could have with Jacoby Thomas. The biggest thing that Jacoby Thomas has done this year is he's gotten the opportunity to play.
Yeah.
And he didn't get a ton of opportunities to play here last year.
We got about 5 minutes left here on this week's Rocky Top Rewind. Tennessee a 42-9 winner over New Mexico State. Kind of going back to that game a little bit, but still looking ahead to Florida. Joey Aguilar's got to play better in a game down in the swamp. And it's funny, like, you take the 2 picks out. I mean, he's 17-23, 204 yards and a touchdown. Completed 74% of the passes. The stat line doesn't look bad. The 2 interceptions look bad, and you couple that with the 2 interceptions in the first half against Oklahoma, the pick 6 to Alabama a couple weeks before that. It's like he went through the first half of the season really taking care of the football, and you could honestly attribute to his early picks. Oh, well, that one was pass interference. Oh, that one, Braylon Staley fell down. You know, that one was an arm punt. You know, even the 2 of Mississippi State, well, both those were off the hands of Miles Kitselman. Now you can't. It's like he's continuously putting the football in harm's way a little bit. And I'll say this again. I'll take him throwing for 300+ yards, 2 touchdowns, and a turnover every game. I will take that. You can't have 2 turnovers in the first half to begin every game because you're putting yourself in a hole. Going down in a hostile environment, a place where, you know, again, these players don't care about 0-3 or anything, but it's going to be loud down there. You might have a new look offensive line depending on Wendell Moy. You need a veteran quarterback. I would say a guy that's been there, done that. He really hadn't been there an awful lot at this stage and done that, but it feels like he has. You need him to play some clean football. You can't have 2 first-half turnovers, and he's had the same pick twice in as many games, like backside pressure a little bit, you know, throwing it over the middle. It's sailing right to the safety. You got to avoid that down in the swamp.
Well, I mean, here's the thing with me on that. The one, I mean, I think he got and just missed the safety in the Oklahoma game. I think he just missed.
Oh yeah, I think that was a really good play by
I just think he got. Yeah. He tried to create something on the first one to Kitselman. Kitzelman's running an out, and he kind of drifts back into the middle, and that was kind of an impromptu backyard play. Well, okay, not a great play, but whatever. My problem is the interception he threw at the end of the first half against Oklahoma, and the second interception he threw last night in New Mexico State.
A
little pressure at his feet or at his backside, or a little pressure in his face, and he just arm throws that. There's no footwork. There's no drive with the ball. He just throws it all with his arm, and it's a heave. And what happens is when his feet are not right, Eric, he throws the ball high. He did it in the first half against Syracuse. Everybody got mad at me in my review piece. Oh, you're being too critical. He was fine. When he doesn't set his feet well enough, the ball sails on him. That is one of his things. He has openly discussed that. He's talked about it on the Mike Keith show last week. So he has got to do a better job of setting his feet. And if you're not going to set your feet, you can't throw it 35 yards down the field or 30 yards down the field. He had the one play to Star Thomas where he flipped it to him about 7 yards out ahead of him, and as he was getting tackled, and it was a fine play. That's not a heave. That's just a little flip to a guy. When you're getting hit, or as you're getting hit, if you can't set your feet and drive the ball, you can't be heaving it 25, 30 yards downfield, because if you do, it's going to get picked. And those are the two that bother me, because those are two poor quarterback decisions and quarterback plays.
Yeah, it was, and it put Tennessee in a bad spot, obviously, in that Oklahoma game, because that play specifically allowed, one of the 3 50-yard-plus field goals to be made as time expired and gave Oklahoma a 6-point lead going into the half. Tennessee's defense actually bailed Joey Aguilar out in that regard yesterday, but again, that was against New Mexico State's poor offense, and I don't care how bad Florida's looking. Florida has better players, so can't.
They do. They have much better players.
Can't make a habit out of it, no doubt. One question here. Let's shift gears. Let's. Herb's got a basketball question. I don't have the answer to this, Brent. I don't know if you do as well. Update on Bishop Boswell. He missed last night's game. Is he the leader in the clubhouse for the starting 2-guard in SEC play? I'll answer the second part. It's unknown right now. Again, Tennessee's just a couple of games in. SEC plays a couple of weeks away. Later in the month of December, later this month. You got a little while to figure that out. I think it's too early to say. I know Rick Barnes clearly likes his presence on the defensive end. He was really efficient, his first couple of games he's played. So I think he's going to continue to get those opportunities, but I would say it's probably too early to call that right now. Do you know anything about his injury?
It didn't feel like it was going to be anything significant, so we'll see where he's at for Rice tomorrow night. I mean, maybe they want to try to rest it again. I don't know. They've got enough depth, obviously, to do that. I do think he's the leader for the 2-guard spot right now. Now, that can change in the blink of an eye, but, he's arguably one of their best on-ball defenders on the perimeter. And the 2-guard in this offense is different. That guy doesn't have to be a volume shooter for you.
Because you got a 3 that's a stiff.
You got a freshman volume shooter, a guy the ball's going to go through at the 3 in Nate Ament. And Jacoby Gillespie is not your typical, distribution point guard. I mean, he's a guy who's going to shoot the basketball and can score for you. So your 2-guard does not have to be a guy, Eric, that shoots it a bunch. He's got to be a guy who can defend. And I think right now that's what Boswell's doing best. And he's also taking quality shots, just not taking a high number of shots. And I think Rick Barnes is okay with that right now.
No, I completely agree. Second game of the year, what Mercer, I forgot who they played. I mean, he was like 2 for 4, 2 for 3 from downtown. I mean, he was efficient, very efficient. And you're exactly right. I mean, Jacoby Gillespie is going to shoot it 15 times a game. Nate Ament's going to shoot it 15 times a game. That's where your point production is coming from. And
on the perimeter.
Yes. And what does Rick Barnes stress more than anything? It is defense. And Boswell is now a 3rd-year player in the system, so he's going to play some defense.
Yep, no doubt. And because he knows that's his path to the court. And so that's where the focus is going to be. Don't turn it over. Don't take a bunch of bad shots. Defend like crazy, and you're going to play a whole bunch in the rotation. Now, here's the other thing, too. I mean, Barnes is playing a lot of guys. So whether he's the starter or he's not the starter or whoever the starter is or isn't, doesn't mean like they're going to play – that guy's going to play 28, 30 minutes a game. Now, Gillespie, it's a different story. Ament, it's a different story. But whoever that other guard is just going to be in a rotational piece back there.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate you guys for tuning in here with us on the Rocky Top Rewind, presented by the great people over at Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. TN Trial Lawyers. Tennessee a 42-9 win over New Mexico State. Salute to service. Homecoming on the Hill. And, Tennessee picked up its 7th win of the season. Will Tennessee pick up its 8th win of the season in the Swamp? That would be, if so, the first win down there since 2003. We will find out. Got loads of content. Loads of preview, loads of coverage come up at Volquest.com this week. Got some recruiting work on the site right now. Basketball gets back in action tomorrow. A lot going on. Don't miss out over at Volquest.com and on the General's Quarters. $1 for your first 7 days. Come take advantage of this deal. That's $1 for your first week at Volquest.com. For Brent Hubbs, I'm Eric Kane. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Rocky Top Rewind.